The next legendary banner for April 2020 is coming in a couple days. On this monthly banner, you're going to start with an 8% 5-star focus rate, and the non-focus 5-star rate is always set to 0%. That means any 5-star unit you manage to summon is guaranteed to be one of the 12 heroes on this banner. The free pick mechanic is also not active this time. This is a somewhat notable monthly banner because starting in May, one day after this banner's release, we will have the Golden Week celebration. Golden Week is a huge holiday time in Japan, and many gacha games celebrate it by giving out a ton of free stuff. Not entirely sure how things are going to work this year considering the whole global pandemic. In Fae, we generally have a Hero Fest banner during Golden Week, so if you are on the fence about summoning, then I would recommend just waiting a day to see what the Golden Week announcements have. For the rest of this video, we're gonna briefly run down all 12 banner units, starting with our new legendary hero. To make it tough to decide on who to summon for, it's not surprising that the banner before Golden Week features one of our 3 houses' main lords. Legendary Edelgard makes her appearance, and I think the post-time skip designs for the 3 house leaders were easy choices for legendary heroes. Like in the actual game, Edelgard is going to be an axe armor unit, and she has her hero's relic in hand. She will be a fire pair-up legendary hero, which is both somewhat fitting and ironic considering her playstyle in this game. I have to say that her artwork is fantastic, and she is going to be a more unconventional armor unit. For her old skills, AD comes with Bonfire as her special. She will probably come with high base defense, which should be no surprise. Edelgard will then have attack and res solo as her A skill. This grants +6 attack and res when not adjacent to any ally, and that is going to be a common thread for all her other skills. I'm guessing that the extra resistance might be a reference to her personal skill in 3 houses, which gives her extra resistance if she does nothing but wait for the turn. For her weapon, Edelgard comes with a mirror. Just like in Smash Bros, this axe does a ton of damage. It has 16 might and grants another flat +3 attack. Regular Edelgard ties for highest base attack among axe infantry units, so armored Edelgard having more than 40 base attack would not surprise me in the slightest. For its effect, if Edelgard is not adjacent to an ally, inflict -6 attack and defense on the foe during combat, and the foe cannot make a follow-up attack. A mirror is a pretty simple weapon. Edelgard wants to not be near any allies, and she gets a damage boost, takes less damage, and prevents a follow-up, which is always nice. Very fitting ability for these times, reminding everyone to practice their social distancing. Interestingly, regular Edelgard's axe just requires more enemies nearby than allies, but legendary Edelgard goes all in on just not being adjacent to any ally. She probably is not going to play like your typical army unit that wants to stick with their teammates. Edelgard will be more like an offensive armor march unit that wants to move forward and initiate fights so that she can proc all her solo abilities. She's definitely like Winter Ephraim, who is another army unit who has a solo A skill and a solo based weapon effect. Aymr's special ability is Raging Storm, which has been turned into a B skill rather than a special for Edelgard. If she initiates combat, she gets another action if she is not adjacent to an ally after combat. Oh my, so this is similar to how the skill works in 3 houses because it basically gives her a Galeforce. Now there is a second portion to this skill. If the foe is a dragon or beast unit and Edelgard is not adjacent to an ally, she will make a guaranteed follow-up attack during combat. Basically, instead of dragon effectiveness, Edelgard just gains an advantage against dragon foes, with beast units getting lumped in as well. Important to note that this part works on either phase, and Aymr also works on either phase, so it's almost like having a breaker skill against dragons or beast units. Edelgard gets a follow-up, and she prevents their follow-up. Now going back to the main part of Raging Storm, as long as Edelgard initiates combat and is not adjacent to an ally, she essentially gets to go again. This says it only works once per turn, and it also mentions that the position is only referenced after Edelgard is shifted if any skill moves her after combat. Currently, the only skills that move a unit after combat are the B skills like Lunge, Knockback, Hit and Run, or Drag Back. Considering Raging Storm is a B skill, we can't use those skills anyway, and I think the only time this part applies is against worker bosses who can swap with Edelgard thanks to their Umbra special. Now it's probably just for future proofing, but we could see more ways to move units after a fight. The most basic could be that we might get those movement shifting B skills as Sacred Seals, or maybe there is a special similar to the ones used by worker bosses. Something that may be more relevant to discuss is how does Raging Storm work with Galeforce? Will it stack with it, allowing for 2 extra actions per turn? Well, for the sake of game balance, I would assume that Raging Storm will not work with Galeforce. However, these abilities do only say once per turn, but that doesn't exactly specify that you can't have another skill that grants another action. Also in 3 houses, Raging Storm can actually be chained back to back to back to back to back 5 times in a row before Aymr breaks, allowing Edelgard to literally keep moving and attacking. Allowing it to work with Galeforce and Faye to simulate that broken interaction would honestly be pretty hilarious. Obviously, we'll just have to wait and see if that's the case, but I would not get your hopes up. I think if they wanted to allow this to actually happen as a unique playstyle for Edelgard, I think they would have just given her Galeforce right out of the box. Considering Raging Storm's extra action when initiating, it would have seemed like Edelgard would love to have Armor March. Well, she kinda does. AD brings a new C skill called Armored Stride 3. At the start of the turn, if unit is not adjacent to an ally, unit can move one extra space. The closest comparison would probably be Fallen Tiki's C skill, although hers is much better considering it's her unique skill. Armored Stride will basically allow solo armor units to have the Armor March or Armored Boots buff, and considering every other skill for Legendary Edelgard wants her to be alone, it makes sense for her to have. With 2 movement, Raging Storm becomes quite deadly, allowing Edelgard to either retreat or attack another target. She may not have Bolt Fighter, but considering she can stop an enemy follow-up, plus she reduces their attack by -6, chances are decent she survives a round of combat, and she can just attack the same target again to mimic a follow-up attack. This Edelgard makes it very clear that you don't want to let her initiate combat unless you can deal with her in 1 round. Overall, Legendary Edelgard as a unit fits her personality quite well. She's willing to go at it alone if need be, and isn't afraid to walk down the path she chooses by herself. For the most part, it does seem like she won't be as insane to fight against, since positioning based abilities are just stronger when an actual player is using them. If you have Edelgard alone in 8th raids on a defense team, that leaves her open to ranged attacks unless she runs distant counter. Fallen Tiki has DC plus special fighter and is fast, which is why she can be a dangerous solo armor unit. I'm not expecting Legendary Edelgard to be that threatening, except on player phase initiations, and it's not like Bolt Fighter army units with Armor March haven't existed for 3 years now. If for some ungodly reason Raging Storm does work with Galeforce, then things get a lot spicier, but we'll talk about that when it actually happens. As for base stats, Edelgard has a little less HP than I thought she would have. I don't know, I was thinking maybe 50 HP would have been a good number. For attack, something like 40 base attack wouldn't be too surprising, and she'll probably have something like 37 defense. You know, that's a good solid defense. I'm expecting a slower arm unit, so like 25 base speed and probably an okay amount of res, like 26. Definitely just a bunch of random numbers. I am definitely not basing those on any previous units. Anyway, let me know what you think about Legendary Edelgard in the comments. I love her aesthetics, and her Killing Blow animation seems to be based off of the Axe army units when they use their skills in 3 houses. I was kind of hoping for the armored backflip because that's just ridiculously funny, but her special animation is close to her 3 houses crit animation where she tosses her shield up, does a big jumping attack, and then catches her shield. Can't wait to see what crazy stuff Legendary Claude and Dimitri are going to bring. Atrocity is going to be so dang stupid. Now let's move on to the other 11 heroes on this banner. For red, we got Legendary Marth, Ryoma, and Hrid. Blue has Mythic Naga with Tsubasa and the return of duo Ephraim and Lyon. Green is hella stacked with Legendary Edelgard, Celica, and Nagi. For colorless, we have Air, Larum, and Silque. Starting with Legendary Marth, he's one of the best dragon killers in the game thanks to Binding Shield. This skill allows Marth to completely negate their counterattacks, and he even prevents their follow-up attacks too, making Marth a very safe unit to take down some very scary dragons. One of my best MVPs for arena assault runs. His Fire Emblem special buffs up teammates and works nicely with Exalted Falchion's built-in bonus doubler. For inheritable skills, Marth has Attack and Speed Bond and Infantry Flash, which grants infantry allies Flashing Blade. Next we have Legendary Ryoma, who is very fast but comes with a weird kit. Regento has built-in distant counter, but as a sword flyer, Ryoma is weak to archers and his low res stat leaves him vulnerable to mages. He's just not a great defensive unit, even with Kestrel Stance giving him extra attack and speed on the enemy phase. His one shining bright spot is his unique Bushido B skill. Give Ryoma a more offensive weapon like a Slaying Edge, a Woe Dao, or a Fire Sweep sword, and he gets an extra plus 10 damage on special procs. It's a great B skill for a flyer. Ryoma will also have guidance if you want to pass it on to someone else. Last we got Hrid, who is a fun unit based around debuffing. He is very min-maxed with very low speed, but good attack, defense, and res for a sword cavalier. His sword gives him a follow-up attack and prevents an enemy follow-up if they have a debuff on them. Luckily, Freezing Seal is a personal chill type skill that hits an enemy with a nasty -6 attack and speed debuff. Hrid also has attack smoke to further infect the enemy team. Combine all of this with distant counter and you have a pretty solid unit, and he can even play more offensively too. He is best paired with other debuffing units like a dagger user. In terms of skill fodder, red is not that great. A lot of these skills are a bit niche, and the best thing here is obviously distant counter. However, if you only want DC, there is another color group you may want to choose. Next we got the blue group. Mythic Naga is a blue flame dragon and an Astra hero, although with a lot of people getting the free Altina, her stock kinda goes down a bit unless you just want extra lift score. Her biggest boon is being able to give allies dragon effectiveness thanks to her Divine Fang C skill. Naga also just gets stronger the more dragon killers she has around her, so she wants to pass the buffs around. Her Aether Raid's offense skill grants up to plus 10 attack and speed, but requires you to take down Aether Raid structures, which may be tough depending on the map layout. Chill speed debuffs the fastest enemy with minus 7 speed, which is pretty annoying. Second, we have Tsubasa. She is a very fast lance flyer, and her Mirage Feather has effectiveness against both cavalry and armored units. It also uses the Session mechanic, which only works if Tsubasa acts second or later. As long as she doesn't move first, she gets plus 6 attack and speed and a follow-up attack. Blade Session also works on a similar principle. If the user moves third or later, they get a massive plus 9 attack and speed boost, but if they move second or first, it's a smaller stat boost. Tsubasa is all about moving second or later. For her other skills, she also has show speed, and she comes with honed flyers, which is always nice to have. Last, we got duo Ephraim and Lyon. As a reminder, duo Ephraim is the only non-seasonal duo hero, but he is still a limited time unit and is not in the normal summoning pool. I assume he will return on other banners, but this might be your best shot at getting him for a while. As a unit, duo Ephraim is a lance infantry unit with high attack and defense. His Regan Leaf also has cavalry and army effectiveness, and if Ephraim has more attack than his opponent, he gets a follow-up attack. He also gets the follow-up if he has a movement buff on him, and his dual skill does grant infantry and armor allies 1 extra movement, so that solves that. Ephraim is all about attack and is currently the only source of Heavy Blade 4. It works spectacularly with low attack and defense, and odd attack wave is another solid skill. Blue is going to be a pretty good group thanks to duo Ephraim and Tsubasa. Naga is also good should you want 2 Astra Mythics for your Aether Raid teams. Moving on, we have the Lean Mean Green team. By far the best color group on this banner, and you can get legendary Edelgard too. We discussed her already, but for skills, she offers attack and speed solo and armored stride. Armored stride isn't exactly a must-have skill, but hey, if you got a scary armor unit that can solo things by themselves, it's not a bad option to have that 2 movement. Second, we got legendary Celica, who is an infantry green mage. She has a fantastic 38 attack and speed stat line, but is going to kill over against physical damage, so a bit of a glass cannon. Her Saintly Seraphim grants true damage equal to 25% of the enemy's res stat. She is the magical damage version to legendary Alm. With Soul of Zofia, Celica gets both no follow-up and desperation. She ignores follow-up preventions like Edelgard has, and she can follow up immediately when under 75% HP. To boost her offensive power, Celica comes with Swift Sparrow 3 and Attack and Speed Oath, which are both amazing skills. The main issue for this Celica is getting to under 75% HP safely. If you can do that, then she is going to tear apart even higher res units. Last in this group, we got Nagi, who is an armored green dragon. Nagi is kinda ridiculous with very low speed but high everything else. Her 41 base res is tied for highest in the game and is a huge boon against all the powerful mages out there. Her Ethereal Breath accelerates specials, is effective against dragons, and gives Nagi the Raven Tome effect against colorless units. That is a rather nice effect to have. Ethereal Breath also reduces damage from AoE specials by 80%. Now, I hate saying Nagi because I use Ophelia a ton, and she is the literal embodiment of a hard counter to Special Spiral Ophelia. Her high base res already works against the AoE special, and she also just reduces 80% of what's left anyway. Oh yeah, she also has Distant Counter and Special Fighter, which allows Nagi to counterattack with Soul to heal back up immediately. She is quite the enemy phase monster and really just needs the Quick Repose seal to be a major pain unless you bring a Falchion or an Armor Slayer or you let her attack on the player phase. Suffice to say, but the green group is really good, especially if you want to get Edelgard. If you don't get her, you either get a pretty scary green mage or a ridiculously tanky dragon. We also got very good skills like Swift Sparrow 3, Distant Counter, and Special Fighter. If you wanted to give Edelgard Distant Counter, a spare Nagi would be a nice consolation prize. In general, I would chase the green group for Distant Counter versus trying to get Hrid. For Colorless, we have Air, who everyone can get for free from Book 3. For most players, 1 is enough unless you really wish to score better for Aether Raids, and even then we have Peony now. Air does offer some solid fodder skills with Swift Sparrow 2, and she is still the only Mystic Boost holder that is a rather unique B skill, so it's not a bad thing to hold on to. Next we have Larum, who is an infantry dagger dancer. She's actually incredibly fast with okay attack for a support unit, so don't underestimate her. Larum also comes with the Dragon Slasher Plus, which is an inheritable dagger and is effective against dragons. It has built-in hardy bearing, which is becoming quite the good skill to have these days. She will also come with Disarm Trap, which can be used when Aether raids, and she has Speed and Res Gap, which is going to give +5 speed and resistance to the ally with the highest speed plus res total. As a side note, the Gapper opening buffs, which have global range, seem like good pairings for Legendary Edelgard, who is going to be off on her own mostly. Last up we have Silque, who is an infantry healer. She is quite unique thanks to much higher base defense and res, although she sacrifices a lot of speed. One of the few healers who probably are worth their 5-star rarity. Silque comes with the Melancholy Plus staff. This is the same as the Witchy Wand, which resets specials and inflicts the guard status. It can be very powerful and can trivialize the Rooker Siege's bosses. She also comes with the Earth Fire Bomb Plus special, which grants +6 attack and defense to all allies when it activates. Her B skill is Dazzling Staff, which prevent enemy counterattacks and opens up the Wrathful plus Dazzling Staff combo for any healer. Silque is great if you want a tanky healer, or if you want to get some great healer fodder skills. That's it for this legendary banner. Again, Golden Week is coming, so unless you are 100% trying to get someone, I would just wait the extra day to see if a more enticing Hero Fest banner pops up. For reference, last year we actually had both the Year 1 and Year 2 Choose Your Legends banners with that sweet 5% focus rate. Hopefully this year we'll have another great Hero Fest selection, and if they are tempting people with Edelgard, I feel like they're hiding something good. Good luck on your summons. I'll see you guys in the next video.
Here in